Welcome to the Procrastinator's Guide to the LLSA. This is the 2015 edition, and I'm recording this in August 2016. And this article is Pre-Hospital Epi and Survival Among Patients with Out-of-Hospital Cardiac Arrest. And this is by Hagihara et al. From March 21st, 2012, from JAMA. And what happened in this article is they looked at 417,188 patients who had out-of-hospital cardiac arrest, which they call OHCA, which were all entered into a registry. And they were picked up by Japanese ambulances, which tend to have an ambulance crew that contains at least one emergency life-saving technician who has a lot of training to put in lines, put into airways, and defibrillate. And if they wanted to give epi, they had to call an emergency physician. And some of these patients got epi, and some of them did not get epi. And then they looked at these people to check a couple of different outcomes. The first was how many had return of spontaneous circulation before arriving at the hospital. And there was definitely more in the patients who got the epi, 18.5% versus 5.7%. And this was a statistically significant difference. They also looked at who was alive a month afterward. And they found that 805, or 5.4%, were alive in the epi group and 4.7 in the not epi group. They also looked at two neurologic scales to see how severely affected they were. And these are the Glasgow-Pittsburgh Cerebral Performance Category, as well as the Overall Performance Category scale. And you can see they go from 1 to 5, with 1 being pretty good, and 4 being coma, 5 being death. So you want to have a score of 1 to 2 to be not so affected. And as you can see here, you had 1.4% achieve that in the CPC in the epi group, and 2.2 in this, 1.4 and 2.2 in the no epi group. And this was also statistically significant. And let's review again. So pre-hospital ROSC, you would get it more often if you got epi. Who survived more? Well, minimally, the epi groups. But who did better neurologically? It was those who did not get epi. Now, one more thing. This was an observational study, meaning that you couldn't control for various other features. So they tried to do their best with something called a propensity analysis. And so my understanding of this is that these patients may have been different than these patients, but we had way more of the patients who didn't get epi, right? 402,000 versus 15,000 here. And so if this guy was a smoker with heart disease, they tried to look in this category to find someone else who's a smoker and has heart disease. And if this is a person who didn't get CPR by bystanders, and they tried to find this person who matched on all categories too as well and did not have CPR by a bystander. And so what they try to do is create another matching group here by looking into this big database to look for all the factors that might have also played a part. And this is different than just adjustments, where you would use mathematical methods in order to make these groups more similar by weighting certain things differently. Whereas here, in the propensity analysis, we're actually picking out patients and matching them. So let's look at the numbers they got with the adjustment model first. And we will look at all of the 1, 2, 3, 4 outcomes that they looked at. And so these are all odds ratios, and they are all statistically significant. That means their confidence intervals do not cross 1. This one was no adjustment. This one was adjusted for variables such as age, sex, bystander eyewitness, relationship of bystander to the patient, bystander chest compression, bystander rescue breathing, use of public access AEDs, first documented rhythm, and time to call to time to arrive on scene, for the most with ROSC as a dependent variable. The other ones took into account all those other things, plus some other things like in which prefecture, which I'm guessing is like a county in Japan as well. And what you see here is, again, we see that you are more likely to get ROSC if you got epi. All right, you're more likely to survive in the non-adjusted model, but once you make these adjustments, you're way less likely to survive if you get epi, because this is less than 1, means you are less likely to survive. And you're way less likely to have a good neurologic outcome if you got epi in these adjusted models. Now let's look at the same thing, but with the propensity analysis. That means they matched all the patients. We're going to look at the same outcomes, and we're going to look at the same adjustment models. And again, you're going to find here the same thing, that with epi, you're more likely to get return of spontaneous circulation. After the adjustment, you're less likely to survive, and you're less likely to have good neurologic outcome. So the moral of the story here is that epi might save the heart, but it might be bad for the brain. So while yes, this is an observational study and does not show any causation, but it's a pretty good one in the sense that it's got a lot of patients. It comes from a big registry, a pretty complete registry, and I don't know how you're gonna get a better, a bigger observational study with that. And they even took into account the potential confounders by doing this propensity analysis as well as adjustments. And so you could see that people had worse neurologic outcome and worse 1-month survival with epinephrine. This makes us question the use of epinephrine, this drug that we use so commonly, and the indication for its use came from a dog study. There's a additional article in here which is a commentary which goes into some of this, and we'll do that one next. All right. Thanks for watching, and put any comments down below. Thanks a lot. Bye.